This episode is brought to you by Portland Distro. If you like underground music, movies, and more, go to portlanddistro.com for licensed merch, vinyl, CDs, and more. Plug in the discount code 10OFF, TENOFF, for a 10% discount at portlanddistro.com. Hey guys, back from tour. Got back home a few days ago on Friday. It's Sunday as I record this episode, and I just wanted to kind of break down what it was all about. Got a chance to hang out with some of you guys, and that was awesome. I always encourage people to approach me at these shows and say hello and talk, and I really enjoyed talking to you guys out there on the road. And, seeing some familiar faces, some people I've hung out with before, obviously, and some new faces of people who listen to the show that I haven't met yet. So we'll be hitting the road again this fall. So doing the same circuit through this country. And, definitely if you see me at the show, feel free to come up and say hi and talk. And I always enjoy those experiences. But real quick, before we get going, I want to thank everyone who joined the Patreon. And we have three brand new Patreon subscribers. So I'd like to thank Bob, I'd like to thank Robin, and I'd like to thank Christopher for joining up with the Everything Went Black Legion. Anyone who actually subscribes to that know that Ralph and I are trying to figure out a cool name and a t-shirt idea. We've been throwing out a bunch of ideas. You guys have also been giving us some ideas for shirts and stuff like that. And the whole movement is growing, and I'm really excited, and I love doing those episodes, especially the Long Shadows episodes where Ralph and I get to talk about weird fiction. And so Patreon, $1 will give you access to all the bonus content, or $5, which will give you early access to all of these regular episodes, plus the bonus content, plus some stuff that we're trying to figure out down the line that we can offer to people. And I think we're going to be adding more tiers. As this thing moves on, we're coming up with different ideas involving more people. And that's the beauty of Patreon, is as we actually start generating a little bit more income, we can afford to do cooler things, possibly with video, live stuff, like things like that. I don't know anything about video. Ralph doesn't know anything. Well, probably knows. I'm speaking for him out of turn probably. But I can say that neither one of us are adept at video production. So that's I'd like to get into that aspect of things. And anyone who's been listening to Everything Went Black has known that that's been a huge goal of mine, is to actually have a audio visual component to this show. That's not just like on a Zoom call or a iPhone video, but something that's actually substantial, a little bit more produced, that involves graphics and production and editing and all that kind of stuff. So we're getting closer to our goals of producing something like that, which is very cool. Also, while being on the road, I'm a slow responder to messages. So I apologize to anyone out there who has tried to contact me via either Facebook or Patreon messaging systems, and I haven't responded to you. And there's one particular message that I scanned late one night while we were driving. And it was a very involved, long message that was talking about grief and things like that. And I cannot find that message. So if you're out there listening, please hit me up again and maybe resend it. And I don't know where it went. It's somewhere in either the Patreon stream, Patreon messaging stream, or the Facebook Messenger. I don't know. Like, things got crazy, a lot of driving. You end up locking into this like weird pattern while you're out on the road. And I wasn't really, responding too diligently to some of these things. So now that I'm home, I apologize if I missed your message. It seemed like a heartfelt sort of, attempt to contact me, and I apologize. And I know that I would like to have put together a more involved response, and that's why I put it off, and now I cannot find that message. So once again, I apologize for that. So onward about the tour. I've been out on the road for the past month with Origin, Abysmal Dawn, and Killitorous. That's an interesting name. I was kind of taken aback when I first saw that there was a band called Killitorous on the tour. But they turned out to be an incredible bunch of guys, and they're new friends of ours, and really enjoyed being on the road with them. And seriously, one of the most talented bands that I've seen perform in a long time. Like, beyond any expectation of technical proficiency, every single member of that band was an incredible player and incredibly creative dudes. It was an honor to be on the road with them. The whole bill was great. I mean, I've said it, on the road that I was by far the least talented musician on this particular run of dates. I mean, you got Paul Ryan from Origin, who is a innovator. Actually, all of Origin, if you think about it. John Longstreth on drums, Paul Ryan, Mike Flores on bass. Incredible innovators in the extreme music world. I mean, without Origin, you would not have bands like Archspire or Allegiant or, any of these fast technical death metal bands owe so much to Origin. And they've been at it. I mean, the first time I think I saw Origin, it had to have been like 99 or 2000 on the Relapse Contamination tour. I want to say Exhumed was on the bill, Mortician, maybe Cephalic Carnage might have been on that bill. And I was blown away by how just incredibly chaotic and over the top the band was. And that's the thing, man. It's like live, Origin is an unstoppable machine. Incredible live band, and just every night delivered. Jason Kaiser, one of the greatest frontmen in extreme music, just really knows how to work a crowd and really understands the value of being a frontman. And that's a skill that a lot of people do not possess. I mean, I don't know how to do that, honestly. I don't, anyone who's seen Tombs perform live, like, I'm not about working the crowd or like, banter or any of that kind of stuff. And Kaiser really has that dialed in where it comes off like in a cool way and it engages the crowd and people seem to like it. And I enjoy watching him do his thing on stage, and he's a sick vocalist and just an all around cool guy. And the whole tour was good vibes, honestly. Made some really good friends. Everyone got along. No personality quirks or anything. Of course, being on tour is stressful, so at times, but everyone made the best of it. I feel like everyone was experienced, and they've been doing this for a long time, and everyone helped each other out, and everyone worked together, and it was all in all just a very good experience. And that's not to say there weren't some shortcomings, which I'll get to. Just for us, I mean, Origin had been on tour for several weeks prior to us joining them. So they had done the entire East Coast and eastern part of Canada and the Southeast and most of Texas before we joined the tour. So their tour was, it was almost 2 months long for them because our leg was about a month long. So they were on a long grind doing this thing. And there was different bands on the eastern leg of the tour. And the change up was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that was our first day, was Albuquerque. So we drove all the way from New Jersey to Albuquerque. So starting off the tour with a 30-hour drive was kind of brutal, actually. But we made the best of it, man. Like, we were just eager to be out on the road. And yes, we did an East Coast tour prior to this, but it'd been close to 3 years since we had done any kind of substantial touring on a national level. That bums me out, because as this tour experience galvanized within me, that's my life, man. I wasn't looking forward to coming home. I got to be honest. Like, I was looking forward to having some downtime, sleeping, resting, that sort of thing. But I reckon in 3 or 4 days, I'm going to be ready to go back on tour again, and luckily we got something booked for the fall. Life at home is pretty monotonous. I spend a lot of time by myself. I don't have much of a life here. And being out on tour again really made me understand that that's part of who I am. And that's what I should be doing with my time. And I know I try to have a life at home. I try to integrate myself into this world in a way that is common with other people, but I just cannot seem to manage that. And the real true nature of myself is this kind of adventure world of travel and being in a different place every day and interacting with different people every day. And that's when I'm the happiest, I think. So tomorrow it's back to the grind, back to my job, back to the gym, which is great. Looking forward to training. Well, it's not going to be pretty, but I will be at Muay Thai tomorrow at 6 o'clock, dressed out and ready to roll. But, I'm a bit out of shape. However, I did get a chance to train with Jamie Getz at East Van Muay Thai in Vancouver, and we got a good hour of work in before load-in. So that was a lot of fun. And Jamie's got a nice gym there. He's a co-owner. I didn't get a chance to meet anyone else at that gym, but it's a great place if you want to train and you're in Vancouver. And it was a lot of fun hitting pads and doing some clinching with Jamie. And it was kind of a trip, man. I got out of the van. They dropped me off at the gym, and I had an hour before our load-in time. And I just all right, let's get some work in. Look, I brought my gloves, brought some wraps, brought my shorts, and that sort of thing. And and we got in a nice solid hour of training. And I was out of shape, obviously, but sitting in a van all day for it had been 2 weeks since I'd actually done any kind of training. But it just felt good to move around and improve my mood. And, I was trying to do what I could. I brought some kettlebells, brought my jump rope. We had brought some of the other guys brought some weights. So we were doing these workouts on the sidewalk or in the parking lot. And actually, one of the eye-opener workouts took place in Denver, Colorado at altitude. That was like anyone who doubts altitude, take it from me, man. It's a killer, man, trying to do any kind of exercise at altitude if you are someone who lives at sea level like me. But we soldiered on, and I got in a pretty good workout at altitude. That with kettlebells, doing some burpees, that kind of thing, jumping rope, etc. Oh, where did I leave off here? Okay, yeah. So the beginning of the tour, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 30-hour drive. We did not stop. We just got in the van in Keyport and blazed across the country, changing out drivers, driving all night, cranking tunes, stopping and eating at Denny's, like that sort of, all that fun stuff that you do on the road. We did all that stuff just to get back into the vibe. Straight across the country to Albuquerque. We calculated that if we were to arrive the night before our first show, that we would catch the Cavalera show that was taking place in Albuquerque. So we hustled. We put a little hustle into the whole experience, and we got there in time to catch Cavalera play, the Cavalera brothers. And they were doing the old Sepultura stuff, Beneath the Remains and Arise records. And that was a lot of fun. We stayed in this pretty cool hotel with a hot tub and all that kind of stuff. And, figured we'd have a little comfort before we engaged on this thing. So I got a chance to see Richie Cavalera from Insight, who was doing merch for the Cavalera brothers, and it was great to connect with him. They kicked ass. It was great. Awesome. And then we started the tour, and those first few dates were, I got to say, kind of rough. We were in direct competition with many, many, many metal packages going on at the same time. And, some of these markets, these smaller cities, you can't really support, like, say, 10 shows a month in a place like Albuquerque or El Paso or places like that, And so the shows were a little bit small in the beginning, a little quiet. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be hard going, But, for example, El Paso, the same week that we played, that our package played, the same week, the same venue, we had Destruction, Malevolent Creation, and the Devastation Across the Nation tour with Rotting Christ and Borknagar. That was literally the same week. All of those shows happened within the same week of our package showing up in El Paso. So that was a little bit of a humbling experience, for lack of a better term. But we're in it, so we kept going, obviously, and we're like, okay, maybe things will get better, maybe. The day that we arrived, that we crossed over into El Paso, into Texas, was the day that the news broke about the gun violence and the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. And it was kind of eerie reading about that and entering Texas. And there's a certain type of person that lives in that part of the country. There may be a higher concentration of those types of people than maybe on the coasts, even though those people exist out here for sure. The right-wing zealots that are gun enthusiasts. And look, I know I do have some listeners out there that live in different countries. Some of my friends in Australia, they just think that Americans are out of their fucking minds with the guns. You know what I mean? Europeans, they think we're all John Wayne, obsessed with guns and death, And I have to say, I find it disturbing how, in the face of all of this gun violence and shootings that seem to be going on in this country, that the right wing refuses to come down off of their NRA zealotry. And I just think that no one's trying to take anyone's guns away. They're trying to just make sure that maniacs don't fucking get their hands on dangerous weapons, which, it's not about freedom, man. It's about public safety. No one's saying that you can't have a gun. No one's trying to take away your gun, I have some experience with handguns. I, took a tactical course out here in New Jersey, and I do not own a gun. For a number of reasons. I live by myself. I don't have anyone to protect but me. Maybe if I had a family, I would own a gun, especially with all these fucking maniacs running around in the world these days. But I figured if someone breaks in, hey, I'll roll the dice whether or not I can handle myself. If they're unarmed, I feel like I have a pretty good chance of dealing with the situation. If they're armed, I don't really value my life to the extent where I'm going to be like, okay, it's my time. This is how I go out, and I'm cool with that. So I don't have a gun. there are people who think that all this gun violence is a false flag scenario constructed by the left to take away the gun rights of the right, that these are all plants, that's not real, consistent with that insane thinking that has been running rampant for the past several years, and you can trace it all back to Donald J. Trump and his minions of idiots that support him. So yeah, I don't know. It was a fucking heavy, like driving into Texas, and this is the news that I'm faced with. And there are several other incidents over the last couple of weeks. Philadelphia. Aside from the suicide at Maryland Death Festival, there was a shooting at MDF, as well as a girl getting her pussy eaten during I think it was the autopsy set. So that was life affirming, I guess. But yeah, it was heavy, man. Driving across the country, all the crosses, Christian, ideals somehow linked to a completely amoral figure like Donald Trump. And there's a certain, like, I am not against religion. If you want to believe the things that you want to believe, that is completely your freedom, and I support your freedom to worship whatever deities or ideas or whatever fucking crazy fucked up ideas you got about the universe. I mean, I have my own crazy ideas about the universe. So, but in the United States, man, we do Christianity just like we do guns. Just like we do weapons. The U.S. version of Christianity, like these extreme snake handling televangelist bullshit world of manipulation, is like I am against that to the core, because it's not about worshiping. It's about control. It's about wielding power. It's about telling people how they should live their lives. And I'm drawing a parallel between the right wing's love of supporting freedom to bear arms, yet they vehemently oppose a woman's right to choose what she does with her body. And I find that, dichotomy infuriating, And yeah, today, as I sit here talking about this, I believe that you should feed all these people to the fucking lions, if you ask me, man. Hail Satan. So that's my thoughts on this whole thing right now. But yeah, that was, you drive around the country, crosses, God, freedom, Trump, all these signs, people flying flags, all this kind of stuff was like right in my face every day for the most part. But, I don't want to get too much into that really. I'm trying to just kind of talk about the tour instead of just my feelings about people and religion and all that sort of jazz. But yeah, this particular run had some of the most intense driving situations that I've experienced since, the tours I did with Anodyne. Maybe, a lot of those tours were self-booked or booked by DIY people. So we did crazy drives back then, but this tour was like, the routing was incredibly exhausting. I mean, a lot of, and I understand what happened, looking back on it. There was a lot of other tours going on. There was a lot of other, competition. We were trying to the agent was trying to avoid a lot of that stuff. So we were backtracking, skipping certain cities and coming back to those cities later. So I get it, but having, going out there and doing these drives was pretty brutal. I mean, there's always that drive from San Francisco to Portland, which is 12 hours through the mountains. And it's a beautiful drive, but to do that overnight, almost every tour that I've ever been on has had that drive on it. So I was aware and expecting it. The only tour that we ever did where we had a day off between San Francisco and Portland were the tours we do with ISIS. Those guys always booked a day off between those two cities, which probably was smart and safe, And I remember we did we would one of the tours we did with them, we played a one-off date on the day off. Like those guys probably, the ISIS guys probably all, flew to fucking Vegas or something, and were languishing in hot tubs and gambling and stuff like that, and then flew back to Portland. That's how those guys used to roll back in those days. We had to make money, so we played. We would play a show in like somewhere in Humboldt County, and I remember those shows actually being pretty good. So someday I'd like to play in Northern California again. Maybe as part of another tour, or maybe some bigger tour. We'll take that day off and we can do a date on our own or something. But that 12-hour run, there was many of those on this, many overnight drives, where we just like would lock in and just be like, all right, show's over, let's hit the road. We change out drivers, do 3-hour shifts, change dudes out. We had Salt Lake City to Mesa. We had, tons of those things on this run, man. Some Canadian dates or had some, brutal drives. I always volunteer for that first nighttime shift because I kind of enjoy it. I like that 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., 6 a.m. time. It's like my favorite time. Everyone's crashed out in the van. You can, play whatever music you want. No one, it's quiet, and you just get to think and drive through the night and, experience some really intense country, and really see the country at night. And, there was some nights were just beautiful, man. The moon was out and the stars, and especially the desert drives where you would drive through parts of the country. Colorado comes to mind, where you would see these bizarre alien vegetation on the side of the road, and they look like these creatures sometimes. And sometimes we saw actual creatures, wolves, coyotes. You'd see their eyes reflected in the headlights, like looking at you, and you're realizing that, you're in the wild, and it's pretty cool. And I love that. That's like my favorite thing. And even as much as I complain about that 12-hour drive between San Francisco and Portland, I will always volunteer for that shift, that first shift of night driving through Northern California and the mountains, and, wondering if this is the night where I'm going to see Bigfoot or something like that, And, yeah, I don't know. It was cool. But, speaking of competition, a couple of nights we were in direct competition with some pretty intense, pretty heavy hitters. For example, Mesa, Arizona, we played the same night as Guar and Goat Horror. They were playing down the street. In the same building, the Nile Theater, we were playing downstairs, and upstairs was the Exploited and the Cro-Mags. So, Mesa is a cool city, but I don't know if you have enough people that like heavy music that can go to all three of those shows at the same night. So, luckily at the Nile, you had an upstairs, downstairs kind of thing where I guess if you've paid one price, you can go between both shows. So that was pretty cool. Oh, and also got to hang out with Retta, Queen of the Night of Mesa, Arizona. She showed me around town a little bit while we were there. And it's been many, many years since I'd actually had a chance to hang out with her in person. So it was cool. I had a great time. We caught up, and we got a chance to spend some time together, and that was a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing her again on the next run through. But I also peeped some of the Cro-Mags, of course, and they were actually pretty fucking awesome, man. I mean, if there's any doubt in your mind who is behind the Cro-Mags, go see the latest incarnation of Cro-Mags fronted by Harley Flanagan, and you'll realize that the other version is just like a cover band, basically. I know that might not be a popular opinion to hold with some people, but that's my opinion. And we're all different, man. Everyone talks about freedom. We're all free to express ourselves however we wish, and that's my opinion. My other opinion is that if you paid money to see the Exploited perform, you're a fool. If you thought that was good, you're fooling yourself. That's all I have to say. I checked out some of their set, and I went back downstairs to watch the rest of Origin's set. And, yeah. I think it was a blatant attempt to make some money, and Waddy should, hang up the Liberty Spikes. I'm sure it's a wig by now that he's wearing, and retire from punk rock music, and never come back to this country again to perform. So that's my opinion about that. The West Coast picked up quite a bit. Got a chance to hang out with some good friends. Jay Bennett in L.A. Reconnected with Mark Thompson briefly. Bobby Ferry of 16 in San Diego. Got to kick it with him. That was awesome. In Portland, totally stoked. Really, really stoked to have been able to hang out with Casey of Murder Bait and Davey of Dry Wedding. And, those are two bands that we've been really trying to promote to people. And we got a chance to hang out and get some coffee in Portland and, chill out for a bit. And it was really cool finally meeting those guys. And both of their bands are great and are very, very much on my heavy rotation when it comes to music that I'm playing. And so, yeah, the border crossing was very smooth. I feel like these days the real concern is whether or not you're vaccinated as opposed to drugs or, anything like that. Because apparently all drugs are legal in Canada. Now, somebody might want to check me on that statement. But when you roll up to the border, there's a sign that says I'm paraphrasing, any kind of drugs have to be declared. And in Washington State, which was the state that we played Seattle the day before our crossing into Canada, marijuana is legal. So if you have weed on you, all you have to do when you come to the Canadian border is say, I have this quantity of marijuana on me, and you're good. I mean, I'm sure that if you had pounds of weed for distribution, they probably would have a problem with that, but if you have personal use, it's not an issue. So we used Arrive Canada, which is an app that Todd told us about, and Todd discovered it because he was doing merch for Revocation on their last tour with Cannibal Corpse, and that's how they crossed into Canada. And Arrive Canada is an app you download on your phone. You put a scan of your passports in there as well as all your vaccination info, and you're able to coordinate your crossing into Canada. You tell them what point you're going to, what crossing station you're at, the day, the approximate time, what you're doing there, that kind of thing. And then when you roll up, they scan take your passport, they look in the van to make sure it's the right people, they scan your shit, your Arrive Canada info pops up on a screen, and they didn't even check our paperwork. They just let us go. It was like the easiest thing ever. And Canada was incredible. Canada was like probably the high point of the tour, actually. We had a great time playing up there. The crowds were great. Sold a bunch of merch. Played a bunch of cities that, were new to us, like Edmonton, Calgary, those types of cities. Winnipeg. Got to hang out with Jesse from Ken Mode, which was awesome. I hadn't seen Jesse in quite a while, so it was great to hang out with him. And we had a meal together and hung out, and it was great. The funny thing though was like, while we were in Winnipeg, it didn't actually dawn to me that I was in Jesse's hometown until Champ Morgan texted me, because I posted a picture, and he's like, "You're in Jesse Kenmode's backyard," and I was like, "Holy shit, those guys are from Winnipeg." So we got in touch. Thankfully, we got in touch, and we were able to hang out. Sometimes that happens, man. Like you're on these tours, and you're like, it's city after city after city after city, and you don't have any context as to where you're going, and unless like you're in contact with people all the time, it doesn't register with you that they live there, and that happened in Iowa City. Ran into one of you guys who I associated more with Des Moines, and then this dude, he shows up, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, how'd you come to this place? And it turns out that he only lives like, 45 minutes away or something like that. So yeah, it's like a weird, trippy scenario when you associate people with specific locations and then they show up somewhere else, unexpected, takes you by surprise. And there's other people out there that I've seen in Illinois and they pop up in different cities in Illinois. I'm like, why are you here? They're like, what are you doing here? Oh, it's only 20 minutes from where you live. So yeah, it was kind of interesting on that level. The tour wrapped up in Lawrence, Kansas, which, that's still quite a far drive from New Jersey, but that's technically the hometown of Origin. That's technically their base. However, Longstreth lives in Brooklyn, Kaiser lives in upstate New York, and Paul Ryan lives in San Francisco, and Mike Flores, I guess, is the only member that actually lives in Lawrence, Kansas. But it was kind of a hometown crowd for them. Their roots are there, and it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. It coincidentally was Justin's birthday, our drummer. He turned 21. No, considerably older than that, but he celebrated his birthday on stage with Origin, who had a cake for him. And then we did an encore of 2 cover songs featuring various members of Origin, Tombs, and Abysmal Dawn. We did Kill Yourself by SOD and Killed by Death by Motorhead, which some of you might be aware of. We have released our own cover of that song. So I played guitar on Killed by Death. It was a variety of different people up there. Vito from Abysmal Dawn played the other guitar and the solo on Killed by Death. The SOD cover was Paul Ryan. Justin played drums on that. Kaiser sang. Mike Flores played bass. Longstreth played drums on Killed by Death with us. Drew, of course, played bass and sang, and we all did backup vocals, and it seems like a lot of people had fun. There was stage diving. There was cake being thrown at people. It just was a good time, man. It was a great way to wrap up the tour, and it was, with a heavy heart, man, we left. We had spent a month with these guys, the highs and lows of the whole thing, new friends, old friends. And, it would be great. It's a great memory, man. And I have to say that it was a really great tour, And also, just on a closing note, once again, I like to show respect for Killitorous, who had their own trials and tribulations. Their van broke down. They missed several shows. They were stuck in the desert. They got their van fixed. They met up with us in San Francisco. Their van broke down again. They hired a box truck. Their one crew member went back home, so it was just them, the band, without their tech and, sound guy dude, whatever that they had with them. And they still managed to hang in there and play some dates, man. And they didn't play any of the Canadian dates, ironically, because they're Canadian. But the box truck was not able to get into Canada. But they played, Minneapolis onward, those last few dates. And just suffering in this box truck, man. And that was the hottest part of the tour, was through the Midwest, man. And just cooking in the back of this thing. I guess they did all their drives at night so they didn't have to bake in the sun in this box truck. But respect, man. Just like the heart of warriors those guys have, and I have to say that, just great dudes, incredible band, great players. So keep your eye out for them, man. I think they're coming back on the road this fall after the summer. So definitely keep your eyes out for Killitorous, man. They're here to stay, and they're a great band, and they're a fun bunch of guys, and nothing but love, man. And love for everybody, man. Love for Origin, love for Abysmal Dawn. All you people that came out to the shows, thank you. And just we're back, man. I'm back out on the road. Looking forward to the next time we get out there. And I'm tired. I'm fucking exhausted right now still, but I'm looking forward to getting to it again. And it was good. Mentally, it was very important for me to do this, and I just feel really invigorated by the whole experience. So with that, next week we'll be back with some more regular Everything Went Black style stuff. More Patreon episodes, obviously. And so I hope everyone has a good week, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.